Welcome to the Sports MVT Insider, a platform where we are unrelenting in covering our women in sports. And of course, we absolutely love celebrating those big moments, but we also love to focus on those small moments as well. Today, we are focusing on the sport of women's football. Now, we are joined by a lady who is incredibly passionate about football as well. Now, she's a retired Banyana Banyana player as well, and she's currently the Chief Operating Officer at the South African Football Association. Her name is Lydia Monyepao. Lydia, how are you doing today?
Fine, thanks yourself, Aaron. Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we are so honored to have you on the Sports MVT Insider. I would like for us to start our conversation here. How did your love for football actually come about?
Do you want the short version or the long version?
Well, you can give me a combination. We would like to hear some of the main highlights on your journey in terms of falling in love with football.
Yeah, I think it's mostly from my father. My father was the one who was into football when we were growing up. You know, he was so much into the PSL, you know, favoring 𝗀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹. So every time 𝗀cie𝗰𝗋 won, you know, we'd get ice cream. You know, those ice cream trucks that would pass in the village. He would buy us ice cream, but if 𝗀cie𝗰𝗋 didn't win or drew, we wouldn't get ice cream. So I would always watch the TV, you know, 𝗀cie𝗰𝗋 playing so that they can win, cheer them on so they can win, so I can get my ice cream. I think that's where, you know, I got into football a lot. And women's football obviously is different because it was when I saw, you know, a documentary, so to speak, of 𝗀cie𝗰𝗋𝗃 being shown by SABC one day when I was, you know, watching television. You know, I was still studying in my FIKing then. When I saw the documentary, they're talking about Banyana Banyana, 𝗀cie𝗰𝗋𝗃, you know, how those ladies make it, you know, things happen in women's football in the national team. That's actually something that inspired me. That, you know, I hadn't played much football then, but somehow I told myself, you know, I think it's something that I can do. I must give it a go, and maybe one day I can play for the national team. And that's how the passion started growing.
Oh, wow, that's absolutely beautiful. Now, I'd like to take you back to 2010. Now, you served as the venue marketing coordinator for FIFA during the World Cup in South Africa. Tell us a little bit about some of the key lessons that you learned during this absolutely phenomenal event.
Well, then I didn't even have much background as far as marketing was concerned, but at least I was the coordinator. I wasn't a manager, so to speak, so I had to take instruction from somewhere else. So I think delivering a world-class, you know, a mega event is something that I took out of that, you know, because working with people like FIFA, you know, in different organizations, you know, it was quite taxing, you know, it was very demanding, but you know, I think, you know, the element of professionalism, you know, something that I brought forward, you know, from my days at Ernst & Young. But working with multiple stakeholders, you know, people from different countries, different backgrounds, different cultures, it's something that, you know, kind of, you know, I took a lot of lessons out of that because you are dealing with different personalities. So obviously emotional intelligence is something that, you know, has to come to the fore, you know, when working with people from different you know, different backgrounds. You know, I think it's something that was the highlight of my getting involved at 2010. But you know, hard work. You know, I thought I was a hard worker until I worked at 2010. You know, FIFA people are very demanding, and when you work with them and all those other stakeholders, you just have to be on your toes all the time. And luckily, then I was single, no children, nothing. So you know, I was fully focused on the job, you know, and I got to, you know, to give it my best shot, so to speak.
Wow, absolutely beautiful. I'd like for us to talk about the journey that you had with Banyana Banyana. You were involved with them for 2 years. What are some of the principles of team management that you actually learned during this time?
Sure. That was quite you know, involved. You know, it's one had to look at things from different perspectives. You know, as a former player, you know, you have to look at things from where the players are at the moment, take into consideration, you know, their feelings or their, you know, their concerns and everything. And also, because you're working for the association, you need to also bring the association elements into perspective. So you're wearing different hats. Obviously, you have to have empathy for the players because they're giving it 100% on the field of play, so you have to ensure that, everything that is required, all the support that they require is there. But at the same time, you have to also, take care of the needs of, of SAFA, if the association, in terms of payments, the logistics, so to speak, because you have another angle. Sometimes things don't work according to plan, and players don't understand that. But you have got the first-hand information because you're working at the association. So you have to balance both elements. Sometimes the players are concerned, but you can see that, although the concern is legit, but it's not exactly how things work. So you have to see things from both perspectives and try to balance for everyone's sake, because you have to cater for both, both parties, and try to find win-win solutions for everybody. You can't get everyone, you can't, make everyone happy at the same time, but you have to make everyone as content as possible in the different situations that you would find yourself in. So yeah, I think for me, than anybody else, it was the fact that I came from a background as a player, to being a manager, that got me seeing things from different perspectives, something that other managers, probably are not able to see,
Definitely. I'd like for us to talk about another hat that you wore. You speak about wearing different hats. I also know that you were a TV football analyst. I would like for you to tell us a little bit about this experience, because I think many football fans would love to give their commentary on a platform like that, but you actually had to live that experience. Tell us a little bit about the excitement behind the scenes as well.
Yeah, that was 2 years of excitement. Honestly, I always wanted to do some sort of analysis on television, but I kept knocking on the doors, and I wasn't winning. Even when before I left for the UK back in 2008, I was going to the SABC trying my luck, to be an analyst, and I came back, I tried again, they said no, and then I kept going back, and every time I would hear that there's auditions, I would always go, try to see if I can't have my name down, as one of the analysts. And eventually I got that opportunity in 2015, to analyze, the PSL. I started with the PSL, and then whenever there was women's football matches on, then I would also get involved there. Obviously, one had to know their story. As far as football is concerned, you have to follow everything that's happening in football. You have to watch matches. Sometimes there's 4 matches happening at the same time. You have to know what is happening there, because you're on screen, you're talking about a game that we were watching, but then they would bring other games, these goals that scored in another game that you probably were not watching. So you need to give your comments on that as well. So you have to be on your toes all the time and know what is happening in the space, especially the PSL, in between the 4 white lines and outside the 4 white lines, because sometimes you would discuss boardroom matters, you discuss players, personalities or things that they do outside the field of play that eventually, affect their performance and stuff like that. So yeah, it was exciting, but it was intense. It was hard work, and one had to, you had to know your story.
Definitely. Let's talk quickly about an organization that I'm certain is quite close to your heart, and that's, of course, the University of Pretoria's TuksSport program as well. I know that you spent at least 7 years there, the longest that you have been at any organization. Tell us a little bit about how this specific role shaped you as the administrator that you are today.
Yeah, there I think it was more because it was more of a strategic position. I moved from being just a mere runner, so to speak. You're a runner or coordinator. Someone who gets their hands dirty, to actually, getting involved in decision making. In strategic. Steering the strategy of the university or of TuksSport. In line with the University of Pretoria. And coming up with goals, reviewing the vision, the mission of TuksSport in line with the university's vision and mission, because every now and again the university would, change, the direction and their goals, their key priorities. So it was something that I got involved on that level. So I think on that perspective, strategic management, strategic planning, leadership, my leadership skills came to the fore. It gave that opportunity gave me an opportunity to be a leader and a decision maker, because before then there were so many people above me, that had to be involved for a decision to be made. But as a deputy director at TuksSport, I was very close to decision making, and I could influence a lot of things. And I think I use that as much as possible to influence the things that mattered the most to me. So those 7 years, I think, they honed my leadership skills, my decision making skills more than anything. My strategic thinking came to the fore more than anything else.
Definitely. You talk about those 7 years, and I'm certain that those 7 years were quite important. Looking at what happened in June, you joined the South African Football Association as the Chief Operating Officer. Tell us a little bit about some of your duties and your responsibilities in this specific role.
Sure. Yeah, there, it's happening. It's a lot. It's a lot, obviously, but I knew, it was going to be intense going to the South African Football Association. One says, at TuksSport, I was working with so many different sporting codes, so surely that would have been more demanding. But the football space, especially from a federation or association, perspective, it's more demanding in tenfold, because you are dealing with different stakeholders from grassroots to professional football, from everywhere, FIFA, CAF, the member associations. So there's just so much to do, so 24 hours in a day is just not enough for one to get what that needs to be done. But the areas that report to me or are under my portfolio, it's human resource management, the commercial and marketing aspects, those are there as well. Communications and media, obviously, they work closely with commercial and marketing as well. And football and events, these are very, it's actually what makes the association tick, so to speak, because without the football, there is no South African Football Association. So the competitions that SAFA runs, all the competitions that report to the South African Football Association, they fall under my portfolio. So we're quite busy, throughout, the season. Now the office is closed. Today we are having the under-20 women's national team, taking on Uganda. So, the office might be closed, but we keep working. And Monday, this other FIFA summit happening, I gotta be there. So it's a demanding position. Like I said, I knew what was expected of me, and also it's very strategic, obviously, because I'm the second in line to the Chief Operating Officer. So a lot of decisions has to also come through me. Sometimes the chief executive officer will say, you make the call, especially as far as women's football is concerned. And those are the kind of decisions that I have to make. So, intense, eh?
But I have to admit, it does sound quite exciting as well. You're locked onto the Sport MVT Insider, a podcast for unrelenting coverage of women in sport. I absolutely love diving deeper into the journeys of our athletes, coaches, and administrators to get to know them a little bit better than we do. Coming up this Wednesday is an interesting round of quick fire questions, a great opportunity for some good laughs and some great banter. Keep it locked onto Sport MVT, where we celebrate our women in sport.